wonderful just to be able to take advantage of the platforms that are available to share a message and get it out there to a larger audience. And want to give a shout out. So now with what we're doing, we've got two sponsors for the show and what we're doing with everything else. So first off is Tabala's Food for Thought. Shout out to Jasper for her drive and her passion to get out there and be a conduit to share the story of other small business owners, to allow others to get showcased and share their message and their story to others that may not know about it. So thank you, Jasper, and with Tabala's Food for Thought. And then yesterday, introduced the new sponsor, and that's Rock City Cafe. They're a local small restaurant here in Colorado Springs on Academy in Dublin. So if you're in the area, go check them out. Tell Ricky that Scott with Two Native Sons and Patrick had sent you. But his message is beautiful, and also the food that he produces. The quality is one of those things that when you have somebody that truly has that passion, that drive, and that love for what they do, you can tell the difference in their food, in their products. And what Ricky is providing at Rock City Cafe, you won't find it anywhere else. It's very hard to find. There are other restaurants that I know that are the same way, but his story and his passion for his community and his customers that he cares for is bar none, something that you don't find a lot of times. So again, thank you to Tabala's Food for Thought and Rock City Cafe for coming on, trusting us, and allowing us to get you out there to showcase your message and really go and create a large impact in the community. So with the podcast, the High School and Beyond podcast, it's the fact that I utilize this to discuss different things that I know in regards with the holistic career and college planning. And it's also the fact of getting other people to come on here and share their message with the audience and the family that is part of this podcast. But I look, and it's one of those things that I'm looking at it, and it's come to the point that we have to have a real talk. And so there is the situation that kids, a lot of times as students, don't get to have their voices heard. A lot of times they're pushed to the back burner, and they have these ideas, they have these dreams and these visions. But a lot of times us as parents and as adults, we try to force them into a route that they don't fit in. A lot of times we don't give the space in the room for the students and our speak and share their ideas, share their thoughts, because at the end of the day, they are an individual just like you and I. And so it's one of these things that we have to really work on changing in regards that as a parent with kids and teachers dealing with students and help provide the education. These kids are super smart. These kids have a lot of ideas, and we've got to give them the opportunity to speak and show up and share their message and allow them to be heard. But a lot of times they don't get the chance. A lot of times they're getting put in a box, or they have the situation where you'll have parents and you'll have adults that are like, oh, they're just teenagers. The unique thing is when I look at it is the words that are spoken. And I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, I had a guest on, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but I've said this before too, just because of going through training, being around individuals. It was the fact of, as a teenager with somebody that's in high school, it's been said, and I've said this before, how much do they know themselves? Themselves as the students. How much of the students do they know of themselves? Do they truly know what they want? But think about the fact of, if we are stating that do they know what they truly want? And then if they're hearing that, what does that do for them as an individual? if they are told and said that they don't truly know what they want. So then what does that do to the student? The student's like, well, why should I even try? Why should I even voice my opinion? Because I've been told I don't know what I want. And so it's a sad thing on that one. We got Patrick coming in here. What's up, Patrick? Cam looking clean, bro. Appreciate it. It's the one that I've got for the laptop and whatnot. So, we live and play and do what we need to. But it's one of those things that I think as parents, as adults, we really need to adjust this perception. Kids know that what they want, but are we giving them an outlet to really express and really get to the point where they can say who they are, what they want to do? And if they have a dream and a goal, are you as an adult, are you supporting that? Are you sitting there and saying, okay, let's see what we can do. What can you do with this idea, with this goal? And let's go test it. Let's have you go test it and see if it works. Because if it doesn't work, great. You know what? That's a great way for you to grow and learn. So we've got to let students to have this opportunity to grow and learn. And then have them understand that, failure, making mistakes is okay, because that's the only way we're really going to be able to get to the point where they understand that it's not a bad thing, that's where the growth and progression comes into place. And so this is one of those things that we've got to have this real talk. But who wants to have the real talk? A lot of people don't want to, because as adults now we have to look at ourselves. We have to go deep and say, man, I really jacked up this situation. Or the student knows what they want. The student knows exactly what it is for them. And so let me not try to force my ideas. Let me not try to force my thoughts on these students. Let me try not to create their paradigm. But we have the issue. And then as adults, when we step back and we start saying that to ourselves, it's hard, because now we've got to look ourselves in the mirror and say, yep, we really don't know everything, which is true. But it's this complex, this authority complex that we have as adults, that we know everything and we know what's best for you as a kid, as a teenager. We can provide our opinion, and that's your opinion. But yeah, so what kind of got this was Patrick had done a personality test, and it's 16 personalities. So it's one of those things that as a student, go take it. There's quite a few different options that you have for a personality test, but go out there and take this and kind of get an idea of who you are. And then what you want to do is retake the test, because things happen. You change, you adjust. And so what are you going to do? At least have an idea about who you are and what drives you. And then it helps you out to kind of figure out, okay, this is actually kind of the route that fits who I am, that fits that mold and whatnot. But there was one thing that I think for students, if you're listening to this, one thing to be mindful about, there's a saying. So we hear the fact of ready, aim, fire. But think about what happens if you go ready, aim, you're looking at your target, the target blows away. You're like, oh, man. And then you start getting upset, and you're like, oh, hold on here. And then, okay, it's good. Fire. And then you miss it and whatnot. So let's think about it this way. Ready, fire, aim. Yeah, so get ready, start firing away, and then pivot, aim as you need to go. Because that's the beautiful thing of life, is you have the opportunity to adjust if you need to. If it's not working out right away, don't try to force it. Don't go in there and say, oh, now I got to pivot. I had a challenge. I fell backwards one time, so let me pivot. No, it's like, let's go up there and see if there's something that we were already on that path, and see if there's something that maybe be a little tweak of this projection that we're already taking, that we can get through this challenge, this obstacle. But then if it happens after a while and it's not working, then yeah, let's pivot. Let's see what we can do. Let's do something different. But I think this is one thing that we have to be understanding. And when I'm looking at high school students, don't try to be perfect. Because if you have this habit of trying to be perfect, everything's got to be perfect. I've got to have all straight A's, because if I don't have straight A's, then my top choice of college isn't going to take me. This is the thing. If your college is the route, there's many factors that comes into what colleges are looking at. Grades are just a bit of that. It's not the end all be all. And so this is the thing. When you're going through class, take the time to actually enjoy it, learn. And if it happens where you struggled on a test, cool, so be it. But you know what? Look at it and say, okay, did I really truly understand this, or did I try to cram it and regurgitate the information just to say I did it and to say I passed? Because one of the things that I've seen personally for myself, went to school twice. I've talked about this, I think, but first time went, did a year. I was like, it's too expensive. Let me go join the military. And then after I got out, used my military benefits, and I was in a class, and we had received our test back, and one of my classmates had received a B on her test, and she started freaking out in the middle of class. And I was sitting there, I'm scratching my head, and I'm like, what's the big deal? But she's like, oh, this is going to mess it up for honors and all this, that. I was like, okay, that's cool. But you got to understand that the honors that you may receive in college, not a lot of people are going to look at that. That's going to be like the last point of, oh, yeah, look, they got honors in college, so let's hire them because they had this. No, it's like, it's just part of it. But if you don't get it, take the experience and go run with it. So it's anything in life. So I always talk about college isn't for everybody. So let's figure out what's best for you. As a student, take that time and really do the deep dive and find out who you are. See what really resonates with you. Because if you're listening and somebody's like, you need to go to college, you're like, I don't want to do that. Like, it doesn't resonate with you. Don't adjust. Do not deviate from your true self. Your true self at that time is college isn't for you. And so don't deviate from that. Keep pushing, keep moving forward to go towards the direction that fits you as an individual. And one thing that I was looking up, just kind of with the real talk aspect of with our kids, with our students, we've got to support them. They've got these ideas. They're super smart. They're smarter than they get credit for. And then we, as adults, we have to be mindful about what we're saying, how we're speaking to the students, because what you're saying to the students are going to impact them, are going to affect them, and then they're going to be confused. And another aspect through this class that I'm going through with the Ready, Fire, Aim is a confused mind says no. And so think about that. If you are confusing the students, if you're confusing your kids, they're going to say no. And then they're not going to be true to themselves. And so there was a book I was reading here, the Wizarding series, and one of the chapters, the intro little line to the chapter was, a person is the same as a tree. Without a strong foundation, they cannot grow. So look at yourself as a teacher, look at yourself as a parent, and are you providing a strong foundation for your students? Are you giving that foundation for them to grow? Are you allowing them to experience life? Are you letting them have those opportunities to make the mistakes, to have the failures? Because you know what? We know life is not fair. We know life is not perfect. There's going to be times where mistakes are made. There's going to be times where failures occur. So do you want to set your student up for success, that if they encounter a situation where they make a mistake or they have a failure, that they can bounce back? Because guess what? If you give them that opportunity right now while they're in high school or middle school, even elementary school, just as that whole gap of being a kid from newborn to 18 years old, imagine what that looks like for that student by allowing them to know that, okay, you made a mistake, it's okay, you can grow and learn from this, but don't let it become a habit. But mistakes have to occur. Because think about yourself right now as an adult. How easy is it for you to overcome a mistake that you've made or a failure that you've made? How easy is it for you to overcome that? How easy is it for you to bounce back from that? Or are you one of those individuals that are hard pressed on yourself and you beat yourself up over a situation that occurred and it's hard for you to let that go? Because as individuals, the worst critic that we have is ourselves. And so we've got to take the situation and look and be like, okay, how can I learn from the situation? How can I grow from the situation? What did I learn from the situation? So look at it in a different light. Yeah, it sucks making a mistake. It sucks having the failure and whatnot. But guess what? That is where you grow. That's where you're going to progress. And life is all about growth and progression. And so, like I said, think about it. If you had the opportunity as a kid to make the mistakes and you weren't beat up for it and you were able to grow and learn from it, what would that have done for you in your status now as an adult? Just something to think about. So, again, thank you guys for your time. Thank you guys for your support. Big shout out to the two sponsors, that being Tabala's Food for Thought and Rock City Cafe. Appreciate you guys jumping on, supporting what we're doing to allow us to be able to provide the content to grow, but also to allow us to share your message, share your story with others, and allow them to make that connection piece with you as an individual. So again, thank you guys for your time. If you found any value in this talk, any nuggets that you found from this podcast, from this talk, share it. Share the video, share the podcast, share it with people that need to hear it. Other than that, I'll catch you guys later. Appreciate you guys' time. Peace out. Have a great